We're going to practice some monohybrid crosses together now. So here's the first example. What happens with this cross? So you cross a tall plant with a dwarf pea plant, and tall is dominant, which is why you have big T, big T. This could be a tall one, could also be big T, little t, but I'm telling you here it's going to be big T, so you just go with that. Another way to say that is homozygous dominant. So when this one makes gametes, let's say this is the male, some of the sperm will have big T, and some of the sperm will have also big T. Dun, dun, dun. And the dwarf here, the female, is going to have eggs that are little t and other eggs that are little t. In other words, they'll all be little t. So you really don't even need to do this kind of Punnett square for this one, but let's do it anyway. So little t from the mom and big T from the dad. And when you fill that in, looks like this. You get a big T and a little t. So every single one of them is tall. So it produces the F1 generation, big T, little t, and they are all tall and heterozygous because you have them different. Homozygous would be when they're the same like that. So let's breed the F1 generation, a tall one mated with itself. And so first you have to do the offspring. So these are going to assort independently in metaphase of meiosis and metaphase 1. It's when the homologous chromosomes separate. You'll get some sperm with big T and some sperm with little t. And then you do the same thing with the eggs. And there they are. And then you cross them and see where they end up. Oops. Fill it in. So you get big T here. This sperm fertilizing that egg is big T, little t. That sperm fertilizing that egg is big T, little t. And that sperm fertilizing that egg is little t, little t. So you get 3/4 of them as tall. So 3/4 of them are tall. 1/4 are dwarf. And that's a genotypic ratio of 3:1. Sorry, phenotypic ratio. Oops, I messed that up. Phenotypic ratio of 3:1. Phenotype is what you look like. Genotypic ratio, those are the genes that you have. That's a 1:2:1 ratio. 1 big T, that's this one, to 2 big T, little t, to 1 little t, little t. So when you look at them, you can't tell the difference between them. So phenotypic would be 3/4 of them tall. But their genotypes are actually 1 of these to 2 of these to 1 of those. So I think I wrote that down here, yep. So 1/4 of them are big T, half of them are big T, little t, and 1/4 of them are little t, little t. So the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1, and the phenotypic ratio is 3:1. Dog question. I'm getting sick of peas. How about you? So in dogs, wire hair is due to a dominant gene. I guess they have kind of rough hair. And smooth hair is due to a recessive allele. So whenever I do these, I'm going to write myself a little note. Big W equals wire. And I have to draw these differently or I'm going to get completely messed up. So I make my little w like that. Little w equals smooth. Maybe my big W is going to have like a little straight line here or something to make me remember. You've got to figure out how to draw yours so they look very different. That's the biggest mistake you're going to make here is if you draw a big W and a little w and you can't tell the difference between your big W's and your little w's. So anyway, whether it's homozygous or heterozygous, as long as you've got at least one big W, it has wire hair, the rough stuff. Little w is smooth hair. So if a homozygous wire-haired dog, wire is dominant, so it would be homozygous big W. It's mated with a smooth-haired dog, so that's recessive, so it's got to be little w. If it had a big W, it would be wired-haired. What type of offspring would be produced? Actually, for this one, you hardly even need to do a Punnett square, but let's do it anyway. You get a big W from the wire-haired one and little w from the smooth-haired one. And I keep moving these squares around. Anyway, every single one of the babies is big W, so they are all 100% heterozygous and 100% wire hair. What types of offspring could be produced in the F2 generation? So you mate one of these puppies with her brother. Ew. So big W, little w mated with big W, little w. So try to do this one on your own. You can pause the video and then see how you do. And so the important thing with this is that you put dad's sperm on one side and mom's eggs on the other side. I don't care which one, but you can't put hers here and his over here and over here. You got to pick a side for dad and pick a side for mom and stick with it. So when you fill them in, you've got one homozygous wire hair, two heterozygous wire hair, and one homozygous smooth. So that genotypic ratio is 1 to 2 to 1. 1 big W, 2 big W, little w, and 1 little w, little w. And then the phenotypic ratio is 3 to 1 because we have 3 that are wire hair and 1 that's smooth. Three to 1. Remember, phenotype is what you look like. Genotype is what genes or alleles you have. More dog questions. 2 wire-haired dogs are mated. So just reading that, I know big W something mated with big W something. 2 wire-haired dogs. I know they each have at least a big W. Among the offspring of their first litter, so let's see if one generation here, is a smooth-haired pup. Little w, little w. So right there, if this is their baby, you know the baby got a little w from mom and a little w from dad. So we already know right there these 2 wire-haired dogs are heterozygous. So if these 2 wire-haired dogs mate again, what are the chances that they will produce another smooth-haired pup? So let's do that out. And how about if they're wire-haired? Let's see. So we know they're big W, little w. So if the chances of having a smooth-haired pup are 1/4, and the chances of having a wire-haired dog, are 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 altogether. 3 out of those 4 would be wire-haired, statistically speaking. So 1/4 of them would be smooth hair, and 3/4 of them would be wire hair. New dog question. A wired-haired male, so I know he's big W something, is mated with a smooth-haired female. Whoops, little w, little w. The mother of the wire-haired male was smooth-haired. So his mom was big W, was little w, because she was smooth. So she had to give one of those to her kid. So now we know the genotypes of the parents. What are the phenotypes and genotypes of the pups they can produce? So we know one of them had to be big W, and the other one was little w, and here are the offspring that they could produce. Two. So 1-to-1 ratio, half of them wire hair, half of them smooth hair. Genotypes are also half and half, heterozygous and homozygous recessive. Okay, so I have David here. Say hi, David.
Hi.
So let's do one with humans. In humans, widow's peak is dominant. So I'm going to draw that as big W equals widow's peak. And if you're not sure what widow's peak is, it's when you look at your hairline. Some people have a smooth hairline, and some people have a little dip in their hairline.
And sometimes, depending on who you ask, you'll have a different hairline.
Yeah, some people have a very clear widow's peak, and some people have kind of a bumpy hairline like me, and I don't really know what I am. But let's just look at
some people have a clear widow's peak, yet some people say they don't.
Okay, but we got to get through this, right?
I know, sorry.
Okay, so in humans, widow's peak is dominant over, I don't know, normal, about over a straight hairline. My kids with widow's peak always hate when I do that. So suppose a homozygous woman with widow's peak. What does that mean, David? Homozygous.
Homozygous, that means that she's dominant.
Good. So she's big W, because these are homo the same. So a homozygous woman with widow's peak marries a man with widow's peak whose mother had a straight hairline. Okay, so if the mother had a straight hairline, it would be this. So she had to give one of those genes to her kid, and there it is. What percentage of their children should have widow's peak? David, what do you think?
What percent? No, oh wait, no, because widow's peak is dominant. Sorry,
right.
Then all of the kids should.
All the kids should. Good. So is this the dad? No, that's a woman. So here are her eggs. She can make big W, and the dad's sperm could be big W, little w. And so when you fill these in, does that one have widow's peak?
What? Yes, sorry, yes.
How about this one?
Yep.
How about this one?
Yep.
How about this one?
Yep.
Okay, so they all have widow's peak. 100%. Okay, which of the following crosses should result in a 1 to 2 to 1 genotypic and a 3 to 1 phenotypic ratio? So this is kind of awful. Now we have to go through them all, right? So big V, little v, little v, little v. So let's see. Make sure you draw them different. So I know when I do this, this bottom line is going to look exactly like the top line. Pretend that's a V.
Pretend it's a double V. No.
Okay, so does this have a 3 to 1 phenotypic ratio?
Is it a no?
This is dominant and recessive. So it's a 1 to 1 ratio. So it's not that one. How about this one? Big V, little v, big V, little v.
That would be it, yeah.
Yeah, this is it actually.
I wasn't sure what you meant by 3 to 1 at first, but now that you explained it, I can safely say that this one is it.
Yeah.
Because the bottom right-hand corner will... Actually, is this going to be inverted on you?
Oh. Why does it do that? There it is. Okay, so this is the recessive, whatever it is.
I wonder if in the recording it'll still be there.
This is, yeah, they will. This is the dominant part. So that's 3 to 1. And if you look at the genotypic ratio, it's 1 to 2, these 2 to 1. So it's should be C.
Yep.
In humans, the absence of a cleft is dominant over its presence. So if you have this, so the absence of a cleft is dominant. So this is going to be no cleft. And little a would mean you have a cleft. What's a cleft, David?
A cleft is the thing I don't have in my chin according to every teacher that I've ever had.
So this is what David looks like. He's a very handsome boy. This is him frowning. Here's the cleft in his chin. Got a big cleft in his chin.
I also don't have any hair.
Okay, so anyway, suppose a man with a cleft. If he has a cleft, that means he's little a, marries a woman without a cleft whose mother has a cleft. So the woman without a cleft would be big A, and the mother has a cleft, so little a. What proportion of their children should have clefts?
Half.
Very good.
Yay.
There we go. So 50% of them have a cleft. Handsome devils. Okay, cabbage butterflies. White color is dominant. So in the margin, you always want to kind of write that out. So W equals white. And yellow color is recessive. Whoops, I should have a little w, shouldn't I? There we go. Little w is is yellow. Suppose a white cabbage, that means it's big W something, mates with a yellow cabbage, which would be little w, little w. And some of the baby butterflies are white while others are yellow, which represents the genotypes of the parent generation. So I know at least one of them is little w, so that means I can get rid of that, and that's it. So now we have to guess between these. If these were the parents, the kids would all be 100% the same thing.
Which they're not.
So I know it's got to be either E or D. So if it's this one makes big W sperm.
That one wouldn't work, it's D.
Little w egg.
Sorry, I should probably
egg.
stop loading at the end.
Yeah, you should. I feel like I'm in class. Okay, so anyway, this one wouldn't be it. If you look at this one, you've got big W, little w, and little w, little w. I can't believe it just went away. Of course it did. Okay, so big W, little w, big W, little w, little w, little w, little w, little w. So anyway, some of the babies would be white and are yellow, and some of them would be white. So the answer here is D. Which of the following genetic crosses may yield offspring that are phenotypically recessive? Let's see. Let's look at this one because it's got a recessive in this side. So big T, little t. mated with little big T, little t. You do that cross, and the sperm fertilizes that egg. It's going to look like this. So that would be recessive. None of the others would because these are all donating only the dominant one, and so there would be none that are recessive. And that is the end of my story.